Good afternoon. Welcome to EduSat Network. Friend, today we have another lecture on social change. In the last lecture, we critically examined the various factors that help in social change. There are several agencies and interplay of the different factors. So we try to understand in details. Today, we will focus our lecture particularly on technology and education. How do technology and education help in social change, and how the social change affect the technology and education. So we will try to understand these forces and what are the various activities that goes under social change. So we will try to see in today's lecture, and for discussion on this very topic we have in studio Dr. Manoj Jena. He is assistant professor in Jamia Millia Islamia University, and he has done a lot of work in the contemporary society, and his work on technology and media has been appreciated, and he has written 2 books and presented a number of papers in different national and international journals. So I think his knowledge and experience will help us to understand this topic and give a kind of guidance how to understand the interplay of technology, education and social change. So on your behalf, I welcome him for a research lecture on this very topic. Welcome, sir.
Thank you very much, Amritji. Thank you very much again, and it's indeed a pleasure for me to be here and part of the CC. In fact, today we are going to talk about technology and education as an important determinant or as an important factor for bringing some sort of structural transformation in the society. I think we have already talked about what kind of component it has with the process of social change, and today primarily we are going to discuss the most important component, which is what we call technology. As we all know that technology is an important component, it's and as well as the important determinant to understand our social relationship. Through the technology we can also study what kind of changes is happening, what kind of impact is occurring, which way it's influencing our social relationships, which way it's putting impact on our social structure, different aspects of our social structure like political structure, economic structure, culture, values, so on and so forth. So in this particular lecture, I'll divide it in 2 parts. The first initial part, this particular lecture in this particular lecture I'll discuss something about technology first, then I'll discuss something about the education and how the education is also plays a very, very important role to reshaping our social activities and providing some sort of opportunities for mobilities, so and so forth. So in that in the technological aspects, we'll understand the basic, what are the basic premises which is attached with the technology, and what are the technological factor which is impacting on our social relationships, and as well as the various technological determinants. For example, technological different and innovational aspects also. We'll discuss what kind of innovation is happening in the contemporary society, and what kind of structural transformation is happening in terms of the communication revolution, in terms of the information technology, so and so forth. So let's begin with the basic understanding of technology. As I have already talked about, the technology is an important factor for social change, and we are arguing again and again that in our discipline, sociology, definitely the technology is putting a very strong impact on our social relationships. Even if we can say that in the 16th century, 17th century and 18th century Europe, and then in the present day society, it's absolutely impacting many of our social relationships. And again, as you know that in 1979, United Nations Conference on Science and Technology for Development has recognized the idea of science and technology are the essential for socio-economic and cultural development, progress and change. So primarily when we are talking about social change, we are also talking about development, we are also talking about kind of progress, and the people many parts of the world, they have also realized this particular factor is that the technology does play a very important role, and also it's as it's reshaping our social, life. It's also impacting our everyday life activities, as well as it's also providing some sort of idea to understand progress and change. And the technological change has become more visible and stronger than the other factors of the social change, because we are also constantly arguing that the technological change is also very visible in the sense we are also visualizing what kind of changes is happening. For example, introduction of the new technology in agricultural sector, or introduction of the new technology in communication system, and introduction of the new technology in other sectors like the health and other sectors as well. So that means it's a kind of visibility. It's also, you can also see the visibility of the impact of this technology. And another thing is that it's also connected with the idea of the power relationship. The technology is also well connected with the power relationship, and as well as it's owing to the impact of the technology, some sort of changing modes of production, as well as the individual behavior and the cultural modes, social relations, social structure, even the international diplomacy. In a sense is that a different kind of a new cultural development is happening owing to the introduction of the technology, because see through the transportation, through the communication system, and again as well as the new modes of production, as well as the one can say the introduction of the new work culture in the different industries, and emergence of the, whether it is a manufacturing industry or whether it is a service industry, the technology definitely putting a greater impact over there, as well as the one can say international diplomacy is that through the technology one can also understand what kind of changes is happening in the geopolitical scenario. The people, some countries, they are controlling the power, those who are controlling the power there, through the technology, those who are using the technology, they are extensively doing some sort of monopoly, and in a sense they have a hegemony, the technological hegemony one can also understand, and through that we'll also analyze what kind of changes is happening. Then again, the science and technology also recognized as an important factor in the contemporary world, as we have already talked about, and the changes in the communication technology has affected changes in the interrelations of individual groups, and advances in the electronic technology and availability of gadgets like radio, television have brought in the society qualitative changes in the element of culture. I was also arguing about the same thing, is that one can also see in this contemporary society and the communication, information communication technology. In fact, we will also discuss extensively about it, on information technology. We can see it's a kind of some sort of visible changes is also happening, and an interrelationship of individual is also affected through this technology. The technology is putting impact in the on individual. It's also putting impact in impact on different institutions, and as well as the society at large. And one can also further argue that today's science and technology have not only become the vehicles of growth, but also act as a potential instrument for social transformation. Whenever and wherever we are trying to analyze the idea of the social transformation, as well as we can say the social change, we are also analyzing the technological factors and the technological determinant. Many sociologists, they have also keep on arguing this particular about this particular determinant, like whether it is Marx to Manuel Castells. They all are talking about technology, the way in which technology is playing a very important and vital role in to bringing some sort of social transformation in the society. And the technology change should be understood in sociology in a wider sense. Much wide. We have to understand in a very wider sense that the term does not simply means the machine and scientific instrument. It also implies appropriate attitudes, habit of thoughts and action, in the sense that the cultural changes, change in the culture, change in the values, change in the beliefs, even in traditions. That's through that, it's not limited only, visibility in some sort of, it's not the physical visibility that the machines are moving from one phase to other, it's not the mobility, it's in a sense, it's not the machinery mobility, but in a larger sense, it's also impacting our culture, impacting our values, so and so forth, in the sense that, introduction of the movement from the cottage industry to new industrial units, this new kind of culture is emerging, new kind of social relationship is also emerging, new kind of practices is also emerging. It's in a sense that the technology has a very some sort of multiple impact, multi-level impact is also happening, and also highly specialized task involving owing to the introduction of the different kind of machines and machineries. And again, one can also argue that according to in this regard, the G.M. Foster has very aptly said the technological development is indeed a complex process. So, as you know that it's a very complex process, and it doesn't simply mean the overt acceptance of the material and technical improvements, it implies a cultural, social, psychological process as well. So, in a sense, what you are arguing, what you what kind of argument we are putting over here is that it has a very strong sense of cultural impact, social impact, and psychological as well as the cognitive impact also. So we are trying to understand the technological development, and the great technological improvements have taken place and contributed significantly or significant change in social life through transportation and communication revolution. And this is very visible, whether it is a introduction of the railways or in introduction of the modern transportation systems or airplanes. We will also discuss that. So this is also significant changes happening in terms of the social in our social relationships, in our movements, in it's our physical movements, so and so forth. And political changes and economic changes also based on advancement of technology. The political structure, if you see the political structure and economic structure, they are also substantially affected by advancement of new technology. The new political movement, mobilization of people, communication through the cyberspace, and so forth. And again, now let's talk about the idea of invention and social change, and how does inventions are affecting our social process and our social process. As one can argue, a new invention suddenly introduced a new rapid development and change, that if you will invent something that will bring some sort of change, that will introduce some sort of change in the society. For example, radio, for instance, in standard of speech and communication system. When the radio was invented, when the radio was utilized, for as a mass medium or for a communication process, it was impacted in many ways. The impact was occurred in many ways. For example, for more clarity, we will have a community radio. The community radio is not the idea only to communicate the message, and you have to understand which way you are sending the message, who are your audience, and in which way they are utilizing the information. It's all about dissemination of information, and you want to see some sort of impact, and you are also motivating them. You are also providing information for the empowerment, so and so forth. So in that way, you can also see the invention wherever there is some sort of invention is happening, that it has a in a sense that it has some sort of impact. The impact in the sense impact is occurring on the individual level. The impact is also occurring different institutions. Impact is also occurring society at large. Again, the factory and modes of production. The factory and modes of production is also another new development. What you call in the modern society, the factory and modes of production are also affected by the technologies. And let's now talk about the modern society and the machine age. What you call the machine utilization of machine. The rapid changes of our society previously related to and somehow depend upon the development of the new techniques, new invitations and new modes of production, new standard of living. Most happening phenomena in our life is technology and mechanization has profoundly altered on our life. In a sense is that we have to see what are the new techniques we are using, the new invitations in a different kind of you are introducing different kind of technology, new modes of production and new standard of living. Furthermore, one can also argue if you are trying to analyze a particular context to understand this statement, is that let's take an example of European society in 17th century or the 18th century, when the process of industrialization has happened, and thus when this process was occurred in particular area, particular, for example, Manchester in Britain. Some sort of one can also visualize through the existing literature, one can also read the existing literature, that the massive migration was happening, the new machinery was introduced, new modes of production was happened, the developed one can say the people, the urban centers was developed, the people were migrating from the countrysides to the cities. So, and the new standard of living was emerged at that particular point. So, this is a kind that one can also see the modern society through the machine age. And again, most happening phenomena of our life is the technology and mechanization, because many a times we are also dependent on machines, whether it is in different kind of, whether you have a computer, a laptop, or whether you have mobile phones, whether you have you are using your any sort of machine, whether your washing machine, whether it is your AC. Now see, the human being now they are absolutely dependent upon the technologies and as well as the different kind of machines. And the machines has also altered our social life. It's in a sense, it's also impacting our social life in many ways. And in that way, it's necessary for us to understand the direct and indirect effect of technological development. And as I have already talked about, that the emergence of the development or one can say it's a visible of the new modes of productions, and new organization of labor is also emerging. Like if you see the agricultural society to some sort of paradigm shift has occurred to industrial society. Now we are we have moved from industrial society to a post-industrial society. It's a kind of movement. For example, from one phase of agriculture, agriculture was a primary and base for the economy. Now agriculture to industry, then again to what we call information-based economy. So owing to that, the new organization of labor, the different kind of labor force is emerging. Once upon a time, the labor force were working over there in the field. Now they are in fact in the industrial society, and they are working there in the industries. Now when we are talking about information labor, they are working there in a service economy. So going to the technological technologies and going to the development of the technologies and impact of the technology, it's some sort of shift is occurring in terms of the labor forces, and as well as that's the expansion of the range of or the range of social contract and social relationships. And one can say the different format of the extent. If we are trying to understand the present day economy, it's all about more and more informational economy. It's all about it's IT technology based economy. In industrial, you have to see owing to this industry, the social contract and social relationships is also affected through that process. And again, the third important point is that the specialization of functions and encroachment of urban influence, because one can also see in the modern society or in the industrial society, this is the high level of specialization of functions, because a particular person is not doing everything. the single individual is not doing everything, but the many people simultaneously doing different things. You know, this is the micro aspects of the thing. If we are, for instance, in a factory, if you are producing a bike or if you are producing a particular machine or a computer and laptops, a single individual is not preparing that. You know, you have divided your work among the workers. It's all according to that specializations. In, for example, again for a better understanding, in the health system, when you're talking about medical technology, when you're talking about medical system, you will find for a single human being, we have a number of doctors. Somebody has done specialization in heart studies, or somebody has done in the brain studies. Somebody is about something on eye specialist. You know, multiple specialists are there. In the same way, when you're talking about modern society, this high level of specialization of functions. You know, the many people are doing multiple different kind of specialized work, and as well as the encroachment of the urban influence or the urban life. You know, now the idea of the urbanization is also connected with the technological determinant. You know, if you see the visibility, the transportation system, urban life, it's a kind of influence going to the technologies. Then again, one can also see, understand, what kind of changes is happening in agricultural techniques and particularly introduction of the new agricultural technology and advanced agriculture technology. You know, many inventions has happened in terms of the seed technology, in terms of what you call the fertilizer, in terms of the mechanical labor or introduction of the machine in agricultural sector, and establishing agricultural industries, so on and so forth. So technology, the people are also using technology for agricultural productivity. Therefore, for example, in the Indian context, we have a what we call that green revolution was happened. This was a technological development. So we are not talking about the positive or negative aspects of the green revolution, but nevertheless we are visualizing. Lots of literature is available which is talking about some sort of structural transformation was also happened. You know, owing to the development of, owing to the introduction of the different kind of technologies, agriculture technology, and again the improvement of the breed of cattle, use of fertilizer, variety of seeds. Now we have a different kind of the scientists, particularly the biological scientists, they are also utilizing different kind of techniques, different kind of method. And they are creating different kind of breed of cattle also, and they are also creating different kind of hybrid seeds for more and more productivity. In that way, one can also see that the technology is also used for the better productivity and for high level of productivity, for the quality productivity, and also using pesticides. Though it's also a very debatable issue that what kind of breed will have, why will have a modified breed, and so on and so forth. That's a lots of debate is going on in our within our discipline. But nevertheless, certain kind of impact is occurring, since the utilization of technology and mechanical labor and introduction of owing to the introduction of the different machines, tractor in the farmland or in the agricultural land, and this is also what we call extension of new mode of activities, new mode of work culture in the agricultural sector, and again the development of the agricultural industry. It's also it's a very it's part of that modern industrial development. Now the people are treating industry the utilization of different kind of agricultural products and processing that agricultural products, storing the agricultural products, so on and so forth. And again, the migration is also happening, from village to city. Owing to this, as I have already talked about the urban life, the people are visualizing and they are realizing, okay, that's the better opportunities in the life, the better technological advancement is happening in the urban life. So, owing to that, some sort of migration is also happening from village to city. And then again, another important component of our discussion is that control of atomic energy and social change. So when multiple lots of development has happened, lots of innovational development has happened in many areas, when the in information technology, in atomic research, in health research, in agricultural research, simultaneously lots of similar and parallel development is happening, and we are also witnessing that the emergence of the atomic energy and destruction and destructive processes. And we have witnessed that this particular destructive process and devastative process in the Second World War. So the people are also, some people they are also controlling the atomic energy, and they utilizing atomic energy whether for their own benefit, or they are also utilizing the atomic energy for destructing the entire civilization, or one can say annihilation of human being, or weapon technology. This is also connected with our geopolitical democracy and geopolitical activities. Geopolitical activities, in a sense, people, those who are controlling the atomic energy, those who are controlling the a particular sophisticated technology, they seems that they are so more powerful. They have a very strong sense of bargaining power. They have a very strong sense of hegemony. So this is a kind of development which is happening around the world, and the weapon technology is another important component. This massive transformation is happening around the world. What one can say, the weapon race for acquiring a better technology to control the entire nature or destroy the civilization or the control the war and so on and so forth. So one can also see the control of atomic energy and utilization of the atomic energy. It can be a very important factor to study the social change. Then the last component of our discussion of this part of technology is that the advanced communication technology and social change. As you know that communication is one of the primary conditions for social relations, and the course of civilization has been marked by the constant development of means of communication. We are also in fact seeing, and we are also visualizing, in a sense, is that the means of some sort of structural transformation is happening in terms of the means of communication, the way in which has happened from the steam engine to electricity, automobiles, airplanes, motion picture, television, so on and so forth. The idea is that communication is very, very central to human life, and the human, they are they can't live without communicating with each other. That that's a basic understanding of communication. And now we are seeing that different kind of machines. We are utilizing different kind of machines, different kind of technology for communicating with each other, right? So the idea is, for example, for instance, a mobile phone. Now the mobile phone, it's a machine, it's a technology, it's a very, very important a gadget for our everyday life activities, for our life. So through that technology, through that machine, we are also communicating with each other. And the mobile technology, no doubt, it has transformed our social life in a different way. And one can also study the process of social change through this mobile technology. So in that in that way, we can also see the steam engine, the electricity. These are the technology. This is also that has also impacted our social life. And again, we can also see the automobiles. What the machines, different kind of machines, in terms of transportation of the different kind of transportation from the one parts of the world to the other parts of the world, one parts of the city to the other parts of the city, one part of the country to the other parts of the country. And as well as the airplane is also utilized for the communicative for the better communication and for the transportation system, from leaving a particular place in a particular time and reaching over another place in a particular time. It has also minimized the time gap. If you are moving the using different kind of technologies, different kind of machines, or this kind of technologies, particularly the earphone, it has minimized the time and space gap. And then again, in terms of the communication, in terms of the medium and media, that's a motion picture, introduction of the motion picture. It's another kind of development. As well as the television. Television is also introduction of the television, because television itself can be technology. Roger Silverstone, in his work, is extensively talking about television can be a technology, television can be a medium, and where we are communicating with each other through that machine, and this is plays a very important role in our everyday life activities. So the television as a technology, it's also it's very important for us. It's also television can be a medium, and one can also say television can be a text. Then again, the most recent communication revolution is primarily a structural revolution. Why we are saying that structural revolution? It's putting impact on our structure, and it's a kind of some sort of change is happening. It has a multiple impact is also occurring. It signals an end to the distinction between media that are fixed in a space and time, and the media that the base these dimensions. When we're talking about the recent development, in fact, we are also talking about information communication revolution, which is very very important for everyday life activities, because if you see that's that has altered our everyday life practices, that is impacting our everyday life activities. For that, let's discuss about the information technology component, because information communication technology it's very important, because we are constantly arguing that we are living in a phase of convergence, convergence of everything, convergence of mass communication, convergence in a sense, the mass communication, the information communication and the computer that are combined together, and through that convergence technology we are communicating everything. So when we are talking about information technology and social change, well, let's talk about Daniel Bale. Bale argues and maintained that technology has been a chief engine of raising living standards and reduce inequalities, created new class of engineers and technicians who plan work tasks rather than actually performing them, brought about new function and qualitative of thinking, created new economic dependencies and new social interactions. Primarily, Daniel Bale is arguing about for any sort of development or any sort of progress, or one can say it's a living standard, raised living standard. The chief engine is the base. Technology is the base, and when he's talking about inequality, it can be the many. One can also debate. It's not that reducing the inequality. Many critics they are also arguing that's also creating kind of inequality among the people. No doubt it has created new class and new engineers and technicians, so and so forth, and it's also developing some sort of new economics, but nevertheless the level of dependency has increased. And again, the level of dependency and has increased. It's also emergence of the new economy in one hand, as well as creating some sort of inequality simultaneously, because some people, some technocrats, they are using the technology, some people they are not part of that technology. In fact, we will also discuss about the technology inequality and social change. And again, from his argument, what he is arguing, and even we see, he is also constantly arguing the change from goods producing to the service society. He is talking about it's kind of service economy. So owing to the technological development, now we are talking about service economy and informational economy, so on and so forth. And then the technical knowledge is central to the innovation in technology and and creation of the information, or what we call the intellectual technology. What he is arguing is that basically he is talking about that innovational technology. Innovational technology is also very, very important, and what we call intellectual technology, it's the knowledge, very important, theoretical knowledge is also very important, and the role of science and cognitive values, role of science, for him the role of science is also very, very important in this regard. Simultaneously, Manuel Castells is also talked about, is also arguing about the new society, culture and society in the light of revolution which has begun in 1970s in America and different parts of the world. And the Castells idea is that that the going to this information technologies, that is definitely putting impact on our culture, on our economy, on our society at large. So when he is talking about the informational technology or information technology, and he is also talking about television, computers, so and so forth. That's why he is also arguing about some sort of convergence. And this revolution, what he argues that is fundamentally restructuring of the capitalistic system from the beginning in the 1980s, and what is called the informational society. So that in a sense that restructuring the capitalist system, the idea is that the technology is also putting impact on economic structure, and also it's also analyzed, it's also utilized, the technology is also utilized by the certain section of the society, what you call the capitalistic. It's a restructure, some sort of restructure is happening in terms of the movement of goods and services, in terms of the utilization of technology, in terms of the introduction of labor force, so and so forth. Again, in his analysis he talks about the information technology paradigm with 5 basic characteristics. Because he is also constantly arguing about information technology. He is the one of the important figure in our sociology literature. He is constantly keep on writing about the technological development, information society, so and so forth. So he arguing over here is that the 5 basic characteristics. The first is that there are technologies that act on information. The first and important argument he is putting over here is that the technologies that act on information, number one. Number two, since information is part of all human activity, these technologies have a pervasive effect. It has absolutely, it's some sort of pervasive effect is occurring. The third is that all systems using information technology are defined by networking logic. Networking logic is that it's a concept of the network that allows them to affect a wide variety of processes and organizations. The fourth is that new technology is highly flexible, allowing them to adapt and change constantly. Finally, a specific technology associated with information is emerging into a highly integrated system. So the idea is that first he is talking about information that act on technologies that act on information. It has a pervasive impact. One can also see this process of social change through his argument. Now, whenever we are talking about global economy nowadays, we are also talking about informational economy. We are also talking about information technology. Nowadays in India, we have an emergence of the IT industry, and the people, those who are working in the IT industry, they are in fact part of this knowledge economy. They are part of the global workforce. Now the idea of local has moved to the global level. So therefore, the technology has a pervasive impact, and it has a network logic, and it is highly flexible. This is the highly flexible, that's how we have a outsourcing industry. We have a outsourcing of people, outsourcing of images, outsourcing of the content, and the outsourcing of mobility of the people from one place to other, so and so forth. So the idea is that adaptation, because the technology is so flexible, we are adapting and changing constantly, and it's also integrated with in the larger system. Jean Baudrillard is also talking about the new kind of development and going to the technological changes, and he argues that the modes of production to control by the codes of productions. Codes of production is all about information, it's all about knowledge. He sees and argues that the idea, the dominant feature is no longer what called the production, rather than media, cybernetics models and steering systems, computer, information processing, entertainment and knowledge, and so on and so forth. So on and so forth. What they are talking about now, we have moved from, for him, we have moved from modes of production to the codes of production. This is a kind of, structural transformation is happening, social transformation is happening. That now we are talking about media, cybernetics, we are talking about different kind of computer technology, we are talking about information processing, entertainment and knowledge, so on and so forth. So here through this page, this particular slide will also try to analyze the what kind of structural transformation is happening from one phase to other. For here we can compare with the modern or the industrial society with the little bit with information and contemporary society. The idea of the innovational technology, which is core, is that the steam engine, it was there in the information society, industrial society. Now we have a computer. That means in that way some sort of structural transformation has happened. Now we are using more computer, memory, computation and control, which is the dominant feature in the contemporary society. And the basic function which was playing in that particular period, that in the steam engine, we had in the industrial society, replacement, amplification of the physical labor. Now we have a replacement, amplification of the mental labor, and the material production power was there in information society, industrial society. Now we have a information productive power, which is the most dominant feature. And owing to that, this is, as Manuel Castells is talking about, it has a pervasive impact, in a sense that the information communication technology is also impacting on our product centers and market forces and industrial structure. Now, is that one can also see the commodity structure also. It's also putting impact on our economic structure. It's also putting impact on our, what you call the forms of society, or whether it's putting impact on other activities as well. The primarily, if you see the force of social change in this industrial society and in information society, one can see that in industrial society it's all about unemployment, labor movement, but here we have a future shock, terror, invasion. Though we have a labor movement is also there, but some sort of shift is occurring towards the future shock, terror, invasion of the privacy. And in the industrial society, we had a high level of mass consumption, and though we have but still something is added in the contemporary society, in the informal society, that's called the high mass knowledge creation is also happening. And in terms of the value standard, we have now living in a phase of the time value and self-discipline, social control and globalism. So these are the new kind of shift is occurring owing to the introduction of information technology, and information technology definitely plays a very, very important role. So now again, we'll also try to analyze the technological change in the social structure. Though what we are visualizing in some sort of technological changes is happening, but there is a problem attached with that. In a sense, the conflict between state for dominance, I was talking about in the context of nuclear energy, and for the security threat, for the technological superiority, for the competing ambition to control air-rich oil, coal and other resources, which is essential for the modern industries. This is another area of conflicting. It's also impacting on our social structure and on our social relationships. Then again, the technology is also creating some sort of inequality. You can also understand the relationship in between the technology and inequality, because this is an important component of our discussion of when we are trying to understand the social change. You also one has to, one can also see what kind of relationship we have with the technology, with the idea of inequality. Really, it's minimizing the inequality or it's creating a kind of inequality. So, as one can also argue that the technology has monopolized by few limited politically, economically powerful groups and countries. This is visible. Lots of literature is available. The many empirical studies, is available with us. Is that limited people and limited segmented some sort of people, they are controlling and monopolizing the technologies, because the technological development not even percolate down to the lower level. Even if India, we are also witnessing some sort of divide. In the contemporary term, we can also say the digital divide or technological divide is also happening. All invention made to make life easy for people and masses has ultimately degenerated into class-based conveniences and comforts. What we call, in a sense, that certain section of the society, they are getting benefit out of it. They are utilizing the technology, they are consuming that particular technology, where other people, they are not part and parcel of that technological process. They are not even utilizing. Even if in India, where you have roughly 20 to 30% of the people, they are below poverty line, they can't avail the better developed technology. They can't utilize that. So, in that, one can say the disparity and inequality, because we have different countries. We have some countries that have highly sophisticated technologies, and even in other countries they don't have a sophisticated technology. On the basis of the technology, we can also divide different countries, different groups, different communities, so and so forth. So, disparity and inequality, another important component of the process of social change. Because whenever even if we are talking about information communication technology, even all the people, they are not part of this information technological development process. So again, the capitalism, for example, is bound to monopolize the technology for the profit and power. So even in the new power relationship has emerged owing to the control of the technology. Now the capitalists or the people, they are also controlling the technology for their own and utilizing and monopolizing the technology for their own benefits. So therefore, the idea of the control, regulation and technological power is another important dominant concept in the process of social change. Now the second component of our discussion will talk about education and social change. As you know that education is the most important determinant and most important factor for bringing some sort of structural transformation or the social transformation in the society. As you know that all human society, education is the cornerstone which along with socialization mark the emergence of the young people into adulthood. Because through the education, we are also socializing the young people, and they are the real custodian of the knowledge, and in fact they are the real torch bearer of this country. So the idea of the education is also very, very important in our sociological literature. The education not only impacts values and skills, but also encourages and cultivation of self and individuality. This is another important component of education. It leads to the enrichment of one's life or to the awakening of one's inherent potentialities. And again, the education is completely connected with the socialization process. The socialization is the most important agent of socialization, because socialization is a process. We are imbibing values, we are imbibing knowledge, we are getting knowledge from one generation to other. So through the process of education, we are learning many things. We are learning new values, we are learning scientific values, we are learning rational values, we are also learning modern values, and so on and so forth. This is, and this, through this process of education, one can argue that through this educational process some sort of structural transformation will happen, and we can also talk about development, we will talk about progress, we can also talk about mobility, so on and so forth. And even in the pre-literate societies, the family and kin networks furnish the educational requirement of the people. Even in the education, it was there in the pre-literate society, what you call tribal society or the pastoral society or even the nomad society. Even if they had a family, kin, even they were there to educate their young children. Even in many tribes, there are special institutions where the adolescents receive training in the various aspects of the life, because there is even if in tribal society, even if in the tribes in India, they have a different kind of dormitories, where they will get knowledge, idea, information, values about the society, about the culture, about the life, so on and so forth. So that means we can say the training process is already there in the tribal society as well. And in the more complex and large-scale agricultural society of the past, such as Greece, Rome, India, the education became a most important, more formal affairs. Like the old complex and traditional societies, like even in India, we are developed in a form of specialized social institution like academy and Gurukul. Even if India, we have a very Gurukul paramparas, so and so forth. In modern societies, the highly specialized educational institutions are developed to fulfill certain requirements of the societal needs. When the modern society was emerged, when the modern form of education was emerged, and then the different kind of introduction of the specialization was happened. So there is a requirement to fulfill certain needs, and you have to fulfill certain requirements there. In the modern society, literacy level and educational attainment are vital indicator for development, progress, and change. Even the United Nations also identified this particular fact. In the modern society, literacy level, the literacy indicator, is an important component of development, progress, and change. The attainment of the universal primary education is one of the Millennium Development Goal of the United Nations to be achieved by the year 2015. This is the United Nations. They have their Millennium Development Goal. They are constantly arguing, and in fact they are working to achieve this goal. That 2015 we have to achieve certain kind of universal primary education, or that's a Millennium Goal. And again, the literacy rate and educational development is considered to be the key variables affecting the demographic indicators like the fertility, mortality, especially infant mortality rate, mortality rate, and migration. So that means the literacy rate is absolutely connected with the developmental process in one hand, as well as the demographic indicators, the mortality, fertility, mortality, and migration. It also contributes in improving quality of life, particularly to the life expectancy, infant mortality, learning level, and nutritional level of the children. Higher level of learning and educational development leads to the greater awareness. So in a sense is that the educational indicator or education is connected with our different kind of social institutions and social structure in a larger sense. It's also impacting on our population structure. It is also connected with our economic structure. It's also connected with the overall socio-economic development. So then again, for that, but that's a problem with this with in India and as well as the all over the world, is that we are unable to achieve this universal education for, or what you call the universal attainment of the education, because there is a number of problems attached with that. in a sense, in India, if you see, now I'll show you some data about the population data according to 2011 census. We have the literacy rate is 17.05, and even the male literacy is 82.14, 65.46 in the female literacy. That means one can also say it's a kind of disparity, that the percentage is less, 65% is and 82% is in case of male. And even if you see in the literacy rate among even the ACs and STs, and the urban distribution is also, you will find very in a sense it's disturbing in a sense, is that the percentage is also less from our from our national level data. So my argument is that the education is for all is another target before us. It's a challenge as well as a challenge. And education is inequality that we are also visualizing through the data. There's some sort of inequalities already there, and even it's there in the science technology education, because we are constantly arguing about the technological education is also necessary, and as well as the contemporary, we have to understand the contemporary educational system, why we have some sort of disparity, why certain section of the society, they are not even part of this educational process, whether it is a women, whether it is a tribal, whether it is a Dalit, whether it is a minority, so and so forth. And we have to provide some sort of technological education to everybody. So therefore this is to find getting the universal education for all, definitely it's a challenge, because it is a society is absolutely, we have a diverse culture, we have a diverse religion, we have a diverse ethnic community. To achieve that, it would be a very challenge, but we have to do that. When we are talking about progress, we have to talking about development. It is an essential component of our developmental activities. So again, another slide. This is another census data 2011. One can also see that there is also disparity. That's a regional disparity in terms of literacy rate. The some states they are below 70%. Some states they are doing better. The states like Kerala is 93.9%. The state like Mizoram, that's in the northeast, that's 91%. Himachal Pradesh 83%. This is better states. Even in Sikkim 82%. These are the even Tamil Nadu and even the Goa. These are the better, and even the Maharashtra, they're doing better in the literacy rate. But the states in the northern India like the Rajasthan, Uttar Pradesh, and even Bihar, Jharkhand, and these are the literacy indicator is around 70 and below 70. This is a very important issue for us. It's an important challenge to understand the inequality, what you call the educational inequality. So in conclusion, I can argue over here that when we are trying to understand the process of social change, we can also focus on, we should utilize the technological, we should study the technological determinant, which is putting a very strong impact on many of our social relationships. When we are discussing about education, because as you know that education is also another important component to understand the process of social change.
Okay. Thank you. So, well friend, as we came to know that education and technology has transformed the society, and the present society, we can say, being more technology driven, so naturally it's an important determinant we came to know. So with these words, we would like to conclude the lecture. I thank all of you for watching the lecture. And on your behalf, I thank Dr. Manoj Jena for giving such an insightful lecture on this very topic. Thank you very much.
Thank you.